DFS week number 7, I believe. Is it 7 or 8? I've been drinking already, but I believe
It's
we're
week
going in.
7.
It's week 7. We are ready to rock. DFS, everything you need to know about FanDuel, DraftKings. We will be back in 30 to tell you. Here we go, baby. I am amped up. That intro always does it for me. It is Saturday night, week 7, triple play. I am here, Joe Irachi, your host for the night, where we will talk all things daily fantasy football. And to my left, we are a two-man show tonight. Dirty Jobs 21, Mikey, new child in tow. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Still trying to get used to that no sleep, team no anything. Not that I was really there with the 2-year-old as it was, but man, just to slam it home, there she is. So I love it though, man. I'm excited. It's Saturday. We're riding a few hot streaks here at the old DFS factory, making people money. It's exciting, man. I'm pumped up.
Yeah, we're in
with Jeff this evening.
Yes. Shout out to our co-pilot Jeffrey Allen Mesha, who isn't with us tonight. He must have something that's not nearly as important as this. But no, I believe the parents are in town. So shout out to Jeffrey and Big Al and Tare. We miss you guys. But we're really in the thick of it now. We're talking about winning some money last week, which we were able to do. But I'll tell you what, man, the in-game injuries were really, whether it was Justin Fields, Christian McCaffrey, obviously. We're dealing with bye weeks. We're dealing with regular injuries throughout the week. We're dealing with in-game injuries. There's a lot to navigate. And from the DFS perspective, we're to the point now where when you're picking these positions, you've got to be scrolling all the way to the bottom, because the diamonds in the rough are growing like hotcakes this time of year. Mikey, that's your specialty too, so you know how that goes.
Yep. I love going to that bargain basement, going for that little balling on the budget. Every one of the guys that you get that's been kind of paying off this year have been those guys that have kind of been coming out of the basement. And that's what's been separating the cash-ins from the non-cash-ins. You get the guy who's got that 4% ownership and everything like that. And it's getting, we've been killing it this year. Like I said, we've got quite a few of those bargain guys here tonight. We got even a few from Jeff. I'm riding co-pilot with him. I got his list here this evening, so we can go over that as well.
Teamwork makes the dream work. I'll tell you what, though, one of the greatest stats I heard over the weekend, I actually took a picture of it off the TV. I don't have it anymore, but, and I felt it. I've felt it a few weeks. I didn't realize how consistent it's been. But if you have taken the underdog in the under, if you parlayed every game this season and parlayed the underdog taking the points in the under, you'd be rolling down the street smoking whatever that is, sipping on gin and juice, because it has been a low-scoring 7 weeks where we talk about everything is the passing game in the NFL and points in this. I'm looking Chiefs-Broncos 19-8 last week, Bills-Giants 14-9, Bengals-Seahawks, which I thought that game would have hit 50, to be honest with you, total. 17-13. Vikings-Bears, and I'll be honest, I'm glad you made some money last week on the 1 p.m. slate. I had a lot of stock in that Viking-Bear game being high scoring, and obviously you had the Fields in-game injury, but 19-13. Browns-49ers, 19-17. Lions-Bucks, 20-6. Cowboys-Chargers, another game that, Cowboys obviously have a good defense, but you'd think Monday night Charger-Cowboy game, there'd be some points, 20-17. So these defenses, despite having every rule skewed against them and, coughing on a guy is an automatic first down, illegal contact, these defenses are really navigating well through 7 weeks and keeping these games very, very physical and low scoring in a lot of cases.
Yeah, undoubtedly. It's actually been a really weird season. There's a season low in touchdowns. Like I think the last time it's been this low was like 2004 or something like that, man. It's just there's a lot of things that are way down scale. And yeah, I mean, we haven't been exactly, I wouldn't say killing it here, because like most of the time what we offer is at least a 150 to 175 slate coming at you, at least on FanDuel. Every single time we pick, that's about where we hit on average, is that 150 to 175. And this year we've been hitting the 130 to 140 range. And but that's good enough, oddly enough, because there just hasn't been a whole lot of other interaction happening on the football field. So if you do just get that one guy that scores 2 or 3 touchdowns, you're almost automatically cashing in. And that's, like I said, I mean, we've been hitting that guy every single week. So
yeah, the Tyreek Hills and guys like Christian McCaffrey's and whatnot. And it makes it more imperative to hit those guys, because if McCaffrey's getting his and you're talking about 20 to 17 games, there ain't much else to be gotten. So it's important to have that. So speaking of that, let's start at the top this week, Mikey. Who are you spending your money and paying up for tomorrow?
Okay, so I actually don't really have too much that I'm really paying up for. I mean, the highest guy I've got, well, I mean, outside of Cooper Kupp, but we'll go ahead and we'll let Jeff talk about that, but Jeff's not here, so I'll talk about that on Jeff's slate. But the only other guy that I have that's actually kind of expensive on this slate tomorrow is Aaron Jones. And so that's even a tentative, not tomorrow. So yeah, tomorrow. Sorry, he's my only tentative play. Like, so if I have to scale back to A.J. Dillon, I will likely go back to A.J. Dillon if Aaron Jones doesn't play. So I got that afternoon spot covered. So I might even have a little bit more salary remaining after the fact. But I really didn't pay up for anybody besides Cooper Kupp. And like I said, Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones against Denver is a no-brainer. Mike Evans at 7,600 would maybe possibly be the other guy that I'm paying up for here. Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield just have been connecting all season long. I think that they had a really down week against Detroit last week. I'm looking for Mike Evans to turn it back up. Going over to Jeff's guys that he paid up for. So like I said, Cooper Kupp, he's paying up for the Cooper Kupp. He likes Cooper Kupp this week because you should like Cooper Kupp. And so the other guy that we got going on that he is paying up for is Keenan Allen at 9,200. Keenan Allen has been looking sharp this year. He's been involved. He's averaging 21 points a game on FanDuel. Get him locked in. And then also he had so this must be a different one. So he also had Patrick Mahomes at 9,200, which why not? Because Patrick Mahomes is going to be probably just light up the Chargers tomorrow. Who do you got there, Joe?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I thought so when you're talking the main, and just to ground everybody, we're talking right now in the main 1 p.m. slate. So basically all the 1 and 4 o'clock games. And I thought it was really interesting from a quarterback perspective, because you got Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, and Lamar Jackson at the top. But then with like the Fields injuries, you plummet quite a bit, at least on DraftKings, from a salary perspective. And you get down to that second tier, which is like Stafford, Goff, Geno Smith. And I was really excited for Stafford last week, but he only pulled down 13 points, and now they're going against Pittsburgh. So it almost feels like Kupp's getting his 150, Nakua might get his 100, but it's not necessarily translating for Stafford fantasy point-wise. I do like Goff at 6,400 on DraftKings, but I still feel like I can't dip from those top 4. But I do find it an odd quarterback week. That being said, on DraftKings, I'm going to pay up for Patrick Mahomes at 8,300. Josh Allen's at New England, a little concerned about that matchup. Only reason I don't go Josh Allen there. Mahomes, he's had to get real creative, spread it around to everybody for them to get their points. I expect that to be a high-scoring game as long as there's no weather issues. So I am going to pay up for Patrick Mahomes. And then Jeffrey Allen Mesha had it right. Keenan Allen, same game. Keenan Allen is 8,600 on DraftKings, which is certainly steep, but he's still 900 less than Kupp. He's 300 less than Stephon Diggs. And Keenan Allen's just a cash cow right now. I mean, the targets are in. He had a 20-target game this year. He had 11 last week, 7 for 85 and a touchdown. That's 21 points, and that was kind of a slow game for them against a very good Dallas defense. So I like him quite a bit this week against the Chiefs. And then as far as other pay-up goes, the only real other one, I'm kind of with you, again, between injuries, bye weeks, everything going on, it's not just about the top salary guys at this point. You're finding a lot of value in some of those lower salaried individuals. My only other pay up would be I am going to take a shot with Kenneth Walker III this week for Seattle, 7,000 on DraftKings. And the one nice thing about Walker this year is he's already got 6 touchdowns. They're home against Arizona this week. So I'm feeling like you can get 100 and a touchdown from Kenny Walker this week also. But this was the first week where, I really felt, we'll go over our full lineups later, but I got some guys in my lineup where when I take a look at it, when I'm done, I'm like, yep, we're in the thick of it now. This is the thick of it now, because some of these guys, if you said would be in your DFS, lineup in week 1, you would have been like, I don't even know who that guy is. And now I'm making my freaking 1 p.m. DraftKings around that guy. And just a very, very quick shout out to my friend who I think she's calling me ugly. Hi, Daddy. Good job. This is my 12-year-old who is preparing to go see the Taylor Swift concert movie tomorrow. She will be singing her lungs out, I'm sure, for 3 hours, as is every other teenage girl in America.
That's awesome. Yeah, nope. That's a very popular person, especially now after she got discovered since Travis Kelce started dating her.
I think I've learned the main theme I've learned in all of that is I'm a big fan of Jason Kelce.
Yes. Yes, that's a fact right there.
That's
the whole thing. It gets lost on me. I really don't care. I'm like, that's cool that they're dating and stuff, but I don't really care too much.
The NFL's certainly trying to take advantage of it, but
they certainly are.
So let me do, I'm going to ask the question, and I'm going to do I've been waiting 30 years to be able to do my best Jeff Mesha. So who are the diamonds in the rough this week? And we'll start with Jeffrey Allen Mesha. What do you got, Jeff?
So Jeff is cashing in this week. He's got the guys that he's got coming in low. He liked Zay Flowers at 6,300. He thought was a pretty good deal at home against Detroit. They're going to be forced to throw the ball a whole awful lot. So because Detroit's just been a powerhouse of just beating people up. And then Zach Evans for the Rams. That's who he's tying his hands to for that running back position at 4,800. You really can't go wrong. And that's what, you're going to be able to counterbalance that with your Cooper Kupp. You're going to be probably pretty happy with the end result if he, in fact, gets the job. I believe it's going to be Royce Freeman. Your daughter also said Swifty forever. That's awesome. Gotta love it. The guys I happen to be paying up for, or my bargain guys, Javonte Williams at home against Green Bay. Green Bay has not just been allowing all kinds of yards on the ground. Javonte Williams looked a little underused last week. I think we're going to see that usage go up a few ticks right here this weekend at home. I think they're going to have to rely on that running game to start maybe trying to get any kind of semblance of a way to win football games. I think we see a really big week out of Javonte. And then for my tight end possession, just because I love hearing you pronounce his name, I am going with David Njoku. He's at Indianapolis. Deshaun Watson looks like he'll probably be back this weekend. Even if he's not, they've been given quite a few targets to David Njoku. I feel like he should hit the end zone this weekend. I think they're going to have to throw the ball quite a bit there, too.
Is that Deshaun Watson throwing to him? Do we know that yet?
We don't know that yet, but it's looking like he is going to be playing. Even if not, I didn't mind his usage even on there with People Jones.
So real quick, speaking of that, I just reminded myself, let's take a step back here real quick and run down the injuries. I forgot to do that at the beginning of the show. As my wife would tell me, as a typical man, I can't multitask, and I certainly obviously could not host the show and also run through the injuries at the same time. So I apologize. Let me do that now. What do we know at quarterback? We know that Justin Fields is going to be out, and Tyson Bagent is going to be starting for the Chicago Bears against the Las Vegas Raiders tomorrow. Now, if that was like the 49er defense, they'd cost like $10,000 on DraftKings. It's the Vegas defense, so it's going to be interesting to see how that. Have you heard? Do you know who Tyson? Can you give us a college rundown, Mikey, on Tyson Bagent?
I do remember seeing a few of his profiles. He's not bad. He's more of a pocket guy than a runner, but he does still have a little bit of running ability. But I don't know. It's not like I'm excited about that defense to be able to stop him. I think I saw Josh Jacobs in one of Jets lineups this weekend for that reason, because they think that they're going to be high volume run game in that game. So
So, and I just want to note that Triple Play Fantasy just brought you the most in-depth analysis that there is available on Saturday night, October 21st, 9:24 p.m. on Tyson Badgett. So we thank you, Mikey. But
yes, yeah, I watch as much tape as I possibly can. That's what happens when you're on Team No Sleep.
Deshaun Watson, questionable. I feel like Watson's gonna play tomorrow, but he is still technically questionable. They do say he's on track to start. Daniel Jones is considered a long shot to play despite being questionable. So it'll be week 2 of Geno Smith. Mikey, real quick, I gotta ask, just to Geno Smith at halftime last week. What's your opinion on how that went? Is that a Geno Smith thing? Is that a coaching thing?
I think it's a coaching thing. I think Geno Smith is just a guy, like, you never really ever see him react. And so to see him, like, it's to me, I can never think it's going to be him. Because, I mean, look at what this guy's come from. Look what he's done. Look what he's had to endure as the, like, and we've never seen him snap. Like, and so, yeah, no, but I think it's got to be coaching.
The narrative because of that is so different because even despite the loss, he obviously kept them in the game, obviously made a couple of big plays to keep them in the game. The narrative, if they lost that game without that play, I think people in New York would be screaming for Geno to continue to start, regardless of Daniel Jones' injury status. But that one faux pas, and it just switches everything around. And and now he's got to try to get out of the doghouse again this week. That's about it. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo is also out tomorrow, so I believe that is going to be Brian Hoyer to start against Chicago. So we got that's a big one tomorrow, Mikey. Brian Hoyer against Tyson Badgett. So that's going to be a barn burner.
I'm going to start popping popcorn now.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Put those IPAs in the freezer now. At running back, this one's a shame. I feel so bad for the Lions and David Montgomery being out because they have such a phenomenal thing with him right now. But he's got an oblique rib issue that's going to cost him a couple of weeks, it looks like. Jameer Gibbs is back, so he will be the starter there. Kyren Williams is out for the Rams. That's a big blow for them. He went for 25 last week against Arizona. He's got a bad ankle, and I believe he's actually gonna go on IR and not be back till week 12. Is that
he
correct?
hit the IR this afternoon.
Yeah, that's a tough one, and actually kind of funny. I just traded him for Pacheco in one of my leagues, so I guess I guess I won that one. You spoke about it earlier, Aaron Jones, and this one is really one to keep an eye out on because to Mikey's earlier point, it's a great matchup if he does play without restriction. Aaron Jones right now questionable as Green Bay heads into Denver. What else do we have at running back? That's about it at the running back point. Kareem Hunt's questionable, but it sounds like he's going to play. Real quick at wide receiver. Man, this list is getting longer each week, although this week it's not too bad. DK Metcalf still looking questionable with a rib hip injury. He's slated to be a game-time decision. He played through it last week. I got to believe he'll play through it again, although I'm not a doctor, just in case that surprises anybody. And that's actually really it. So not too bad this week, injury-wise, compared to the last two. That being said, we said Jeff's diamonds in the roughs. We said yours, so I guess it's me for paying down.
There you go.
All right, so we are going to. This isn't a total pay down, but I want to talk about him for 1 second here because I effed this up last week. Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots. Now, I mean, it is being from Connecticut, Massachusetts. It is a fire red alert here in New England over this Patriot team. From Bill Belichick losing the GM responsibility to him. I mean, it is all over the place. Zappy Jones, that we are panicking here in New England. I can say that I'm a Giant fan, not a Patriot fan. From a fantasy perspective, Ramondre Stevenson's been a real head scratcher. In their defense, though, Philly, Miami, the Jets, Dallas, and New Orleans were their first 5 weeks of defenses, which is pretty much all top 10 defenses, maybe other than Miami. So they really went through it. They get the Raiders last week. Stevenson goes for 18 DraftKings points, 46 rushing yards, and a touchdown, another 5 catches for 24 yards. They're home against Buffalo, a little more difficult defensively, although Buffalo's been hit by the injury bug on defense. So at 5,600, I'm going to try Stevenson. I feel like worst case scenario, they're down 31-10 going into the fourth. He gets a little bit of trash, but he woke up against the Raiders last week. Their schedule is going to soften a little bit. So I do like Stevenson there at 5,600. But the real diamonds in the rough for me this week is we're going to go Rashee Rice for Kansas City. This guy who a rookie, correct, Mikey? Yes. Rookie. And, 3 out of the last 4 weeks, he's been double digits. His last 2 weeks combined, 8 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown, which, Justin Jefferson does that in a half. But as we know, the Kansas City offense from a wide receiver perspective this year has been pretty non-existent. So those are actually pretty big wide receiver numbers coming out of that Kansas City group, and he is rising above. So 4,700, I feel like the Chargers are going to keep a little bit of pressure on Mahomes to keep throwing and keep scoring. So I like Rice at that price. And then another one to talk about, and I laugh because we were talking about this guy quite a bit a couple years ago, and he kind of went quiet, but he's come back to life. That's Curtis Samuels for the Washington Commanders. 18, 18, and 14 in his last 3 weeks, DraftKings wise. Receptions have been 4, 6, and 7. Touchdowns 2 weeks in a row. They love Samuel in the red zone. They love him with some gadgety plays. They're playing the Giants, which is really enough said. I'll give you one more, seeing Jeff's not here. We need a little filler. 2,700 tight end, Michael Mayer, Las Vegas Raiders. High-profile rookie coming out of college. Notre Dame, Mike?
Yes,
sir. Notre Dame pick. They didn't really integrate him into the offense until week 5, but then last week against New England, which is a good defense, he went 5 for 75 on 6 targets. So granted, there's no quarterback there, but I think even more the reason to really kind of get Mayer tomorrow is your binky and your tight end for Hoyer. So I like Mayer there at 2,700. What do you think, Mikey?
Absolutely appreciate that, because quarterbacks love their tight end when they're on new schemes. And I like Hoyer with his tight end. For sure.
That being said, my friend, why don't we take this home with our full gamers?
All right, and I'll start off with Jeff's, and I'll just say, let's rattle them pots and pans.
Get out of that kitchen and rattle those pots and pans.
There you go.
Love
so he's going to be kicking out Matt Stafford at 6,700. Likes that matchup at home against the Steelers. Zach Evans, he's, like I said, he's his bargain guy. That's who he's got the pick to do the Rams running tomorrow. James Cook at New England at 7,000. Cooper Kupp, what more do you want? At home against Pittsburgh, stacking up that Matt Stafford stack. Zay Flowers at home against Detroit, 6,300. Mike Evans, 7,600 at home against Atlanta. Luke Musgrave, he's going to go dip into the Musgrave well for some reason. At 5,000, that's probably the actual reason for that. And then that Josh Jacobs, man, that's a good grab, I think, at Chicago. I think they're going to be using the crud out of him tomorrow because they're going to have to, because there's nobody throwing the football in that game, for 8,000. And then he's rolling out the Seattle Seahawks defense at 4,900. My lineup that I'm going with, man, I'm going with that Geno Smith, baby. I think he's got that energy. He's going to be lights out against Arizona. At home, I count on him to bounce back, have a better week this week.
Holy shit. I think I called the Giants quarterback Geno Smith.
You were talking about Tyrod Taylor. I wanted to correct you, but I wasn't 100% sure that you were talking about Tyrod Taylor until it was about 10 seconds too late. I'm like, now, wait a minute. I was thinking that was Tyrod Taylor, but then I just thought I was remembering it wrong. So like I said, we got Aaron Jones, 7,700 at home or at Denver, running against Denver has just been a theme this year that you want to get on because you're giving up 30, 40 points per game towards each running back. Again, if we got to back out on Aaron Jones, we're going to go to A.J. Dillon. He's about $700 cheaper. We may be able to move somebody up, but I do just like the rest of this line. And I still got 700 salary remaining at the end of it. Javonte Williams at home against Green Bay, 6,000. I already told you how much we like him. We got Tyler Lockett at home against Arizona. Also stacking up with Geno Smith. DK Metcalf being hurt. I think we're going to see a little bit more of a dosage of Lockett tomorrow, and he doesn't let up. Wan'Dale Robinson, man, he's been getting the targets. I can't ignore this guy anymore. I think that at 5,600, he's a steal, and I think at home against Washington, we're good to go. Mike Evans, another Mike Evans guy here. I can't stress enough how much I like him with Baker Mayfield. We got David Njoku at Indianapolis. We got Cooper Kupp at home. And I'm taking the Lions at Baltimore for the defense because that defense has been quietly lighting it up, and they've been getting better every week.
Yeah, I thought about getting golf in there this week, and I didn't, but it's hard to not look at a lot of the Lions right now. They are. I feel like the world's been waiting like 10 years for this with the Lions. I think we've all wanted the Lions to be good for a long time, and we have finally gotten there. But
Yeah, ever since Barry Sanders days, for sure.
yeah, right. But it's funny. I obviously talk about DraftKings each week on the show, but I do FanDuel lineups, and it's funny because I have Zay Flower in my FanDuel lineup this week, and from a fantasy perspective, and maybe this is a flaw of us players, but like the fact that Flowers finally got in the end zone, I just feel like changes. He was good for PPR and everything. Obviously, he was the main wide receiver there for sure from a target perspective, but it just felt so good fantasy wise to see him getting in the end zone last week. And it just makes him feel that much more relevant, knowing that he can do that and not just be a 20-20 guy, and
Absolutely.
not a red zone guy. And then Jacobs was the other one too, where I didn't get him in on DraftKings, but I got him in on FanDuel, and I love the Jacobs play also. And I can't wait for the blitz tomorrow and you already said it about Royce Freeman versus Zach Evans. I feel like this is going to come up a lot tomorrow. I've got one of those guys earmarked in my FanDuel lineup, and I guess I just got to let it play out because I'm not really sure. There's the Zach Evans you came in. I'm not sure what they're going to do.
I think it's going to be the Royce Freeman show. I really, truly do. They said that he's been the guy that's been in the first count reps. I think that they're just going to continue to go with that. Now, that said, they've got too many cooks in that kitchen already. I think we're going to see a spread of all three, and they may just take a hot hand approach. So, I mean, like it could be Royce Freeman. It could be Darrell Henderson. It could be Zach Evans. I mean, when you start saying those kind of things, I get really nervous about starting this guy in my DFS because you're 1 out of 3. You're 33% to get that right or wrong. And even then, you're looking at pretty minimal production on a team that's going to have to pass a lot.
Yep, on a team that's going to have 2 players getting 15+ targets a week. That's
absolutely.
tough for everybody else. But all right, I will throw in the draft. And Wan'Dale Robinson's another one. I didn't get him in on DraftKings, but from a PPR perspective, I like that a lot too because it looks like whether it's Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor, they do seem to like Wan'Dale quite a bit since he's been back on the field. But from a DraftKings perspective, we are going Patrick Mahomes, 8,300. I feel like he's had a bunch of kind of weird fantasy games. He's been over 24 out of 6, but he hasn't been over 25 yet. I feel like this might be the week where it's 3 or 4 touchdowns and a couple hundred yards real early on from him. I just opened up a PowerPoint presentation by accident on my work computer here. So we're going to stick with the Kansas City game. Isaiah Pacheco, he is going for 6,100. And I love the fact that finally, I mean, this is, for I don't want to date ourselves, but for some of the more experienced fantasy players, Thomas Jones, Jamal Charles, this Kansas City team has been a fantasy cash cow from a running back, Kareem Hunt, for a couple of years before he had his little event. And then they had no running back. So it's great to see Pacheco coming back and solidifying that position for them. We talked about Ramondre Stevenson, 5,600 against Buffalo. I just think that's a good bargain. Keenan Allen's going to be the big wideout this week at Kansas City. Love Diggs too. Got him on FanDuel. I just feel like Allen's good for 12 to 15 targets. It's hard not to take him. We're going Rashee Rice, 4,700, again, sticking on that Kansas City team. Mahomes got to throw it to somebody other than Kelsey, and Rice has really clearly become the number one wideout there. Curtis Samuel, 4,000, Washington at the Giants. Samuel scored 2 weeks in a row, double-digit points, 3 weeks in a row. They love him in the red zone. Michael Mayer, 2,700 for the Raiders, our diamond in the rough at Chicago. Didn't do much first few weeks, 2 weeks in a row now, though. He's an integral part of that offense. Kenneth Walker III, 7,000, Seattle against Arizona. Love the matchup. Walker's getting into the end zone most weeks. Defense right now, New York Giants, 3,000. I got to tell you, they gave up 14 points at Buffalo on a primetime game. So there's something to be said for that. They at least have a pulse. Sam Howell for the Redskins, it feels like he surprises you for the good 1 week and then surprises you for the bad the next week. I'm hoping that this is one of the bad weeks and the Giants defense gets to pick on them a little bit.
That's not a bad call right there. Yeah, they looked a lot better last week. They did. They were able to shut that down. I do worry a little bit about Josh Allen's arm. I think that shoulder injury might it really feels a lot like last year to me. It really does.
They're getting killed injury-wise. It's too bad with the defensive injuries too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That team's getting decimated. That team's going to be, they're going to be watching the playoffs this year at this rate.
So let me ask you real quick before we go. We're the 7 weeks in, so we got enough data now. We're forget about the fantasy for a second. It's real time. It's ever changing. We know that. But 7 weeks in, Mikey, where do you feel if you had to make a who are we going to be watching February, whatever it is right now? If you had to make that Super Bowl prediction, who do you think looks the best each conference 7 weeks in?
If San Francisco can bounce back on a few of these injuries, I just don't think that there's a whole lot of teams out there that have the stopping power that can really shut that team down. That said, they really haven't had too many opportunities against teams that have rushing quarterbacks, which seem to be fairly dominant in the AFC and not so prevalent in the NFC. I mean, you've got Hurts, you've got Fields, and after that, you kind of start going a little bit drier. Like whereas you got Mahomes, you got Allen, you got you got Herbert. I mean, you got so many guys in the AFC that can do it. So it's just kind of a different dynamic that kind of throws off the defense. So I just don't think that I don't think you can stop San Francisco right now until, like I said, I do want to see how they fare against Philadelphia. That's one game I'm really, really excited about waiting to see. Because I can see Philadelphia getting in there just as easily. I really just it's Patrick Mahomes' game, and they're all just kind of playing it. And I think that he's going to be able to get the Super Bowl pretty much anytime he damn well wants. And so, but I am going to call the upset. I do think that I do really think that we see the Bengals pick it up towards the end. I think the Bengals might sneak in there, but I think it's going to be between the Bengals and the Chiefs.
Very nice, very nice. I want the Bills so badly. I want Josh Allen in that city of Buffalo to get there.
Dude.
So I know I'm with you, man.
I'm telling you,
and I'm a Giants fan, but I really want to see the Bills do it. I want to see those fans take over that Super Bowl stadium because I know they would if they ever got the chance. But the injuries are just killing them. And I agree. Mahomes right now is just Mahomes is LeBron James right now, and he just. You can put him with a bunch of shit, and it doesn't even matter. I guess you could say Tom Brady, too, to keep it in the same sport. It's just not even matter. I mean, I'm talking about Rashee Rice as their number one wideout. So I do like Kansas City, especially with the Chris Jones re-sign. I know we got to go here, and I'm 100% with you. I cannot wait, and I hope injuries don't F it up, for a NFC championship game, healthy rematch between the 49ers and the Eagles. Because I think that will just be a phenomenal, phenomenal game as those two teams, to me, are two short Italians above everybody else in the NFC.
Yep, you got them at tier A, and then you got Dallas Cowboys leading with tier C.
Right, agreed. But that being said, we appreciate it. Triple Play Fantasy, YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Most importantly, 12 hours and 49 minutes from now, we will be back for the Blitz. Mikey, I appreciate it. Thank you, my friend.
Yep. Have a